I'm Glimpse and I'm in Shepherd's Bush. The album's been really great experience, I think, for me. I'm used to doing singles, so with the album, it's a completely different ball game, really. Coming up with a whole album, a body of work that it hangs together as such. Whereas with singles, it's a lot more of like a snapshot or an energy that you're trying to capture for the dance floor. An album's it's more of a marathon rather than a sprint. So it was a big learning curve for me, in some positive ways and in some negative ways. I enjoyed the experience, and I think the press has been really good. And I've just finished my album tour, which went really well. And I'm sort of looking forward to moving on to the next new projects. I've got a lot of influences from like a lot of Afrobeat, blues, jazz, funk. I suppose it's a reflection really of how I feel musically at the moment. I did a lot more sampling than I usually do. Usually my previous releases I never really sampled anything, but I was sort of started sampling again reel to reel on tape and wanted to really sort of explore that sort of a lot of the music that inspired me and use it in my music. So I suppose the sounds, it's all made on analog equipment, and I think when you're using analog equipment you get a lot more mistakes. You get a much more organic approach to the production, which does mean that you get sort of happy accidents and things like that. So I suppose that's why the album has a lot of sonic sort of information in it. I only always use analog stuff. I use soft synths and plugins, but the main core of the track would be analog, and it definitely lends music a certain warmth that you can't really replicate. You can get close to. It's definitely splits opinions, but personally, I enjoy working like that more, and it's the result that I'm used to getting. So for me, it's the way I want to carry on working. Really,
you must be a dying breed though, using proper old analog stuff, aren't you?
I don't know. I think the best ones use analog stuff personally. Carl Craig, Ricardo Villalobos, Moody Man, all the people that I aspire to be like, and the people whose work that I hugely respect. A lot of the people that the records that I play with if I'm DJing are made on analog equipment. OMRS is another one, Levon Vincent. It's just something that I'm interested in it. Aside from the music, I'm actually interested. I collect synths, and I've got a huge passion for, they're so well built. I think there's an amazing amount of craftsmanship that goes into making an analog synth and making it sound the way it does. When I moved to Berlin, I bought an M Audio sound recorder, so a lot of the albums got sort of background noise from train stations, and sort of, it found sounds that I found in Berlin and sort of around my flat, because I was on my own in my flat for about 4 months pretty much, where I made the main body of the album. And that was, quite an intense situation. I've never really lived on my own. My flatmate was in Brazil for 4 months. My girlfriend was in London. So it was quite amazing, really, having the freedom just to sort of work all night, get up at 11, work all night the next night, and really generally just sort of let things happen naturally. And living in Berlin had a huge impact on the album. Mainly, I went running a lot. There's a lot of found sound stuff there. So I think it's important to try and stamp your environment on your work. I certainly try and do it. Writing an album, if you're an electronic music artist, is actually quite a difficult thing to get right, because you're really walking a thin line between, as I said before, a collection of singles, or you could do an album where it's got, a lot of guys just sing over their whole album and it's like really poppy, and then you alienate your audience. So it's like trying to do something that, people who buy my records before would like, and it's not a collection of singles, so it's got interest to hold you throughout the whole CD. I think I made a couple of tracks that were like kind of not really right for singles, but I really, really liked them, and I played them out in my live set and they were working really well. So I think that I made a couple of tracks in particular, the track Feel OK, that was really working in clubs, but it wasn't quite right for a single. Not that it wasn't strong enough, it just the way it was structured was wrong for a single, and in a strange kind of way. So I kind of didn't want my album to be a collection of singles, like 10 singles that could just be released as singles. I wanted it to have a narrative and a thread running through the whole album that sort of pulled it together, which was the kind of woozy, sort of the bluesy, low-slung, quite lo-fi aesthetic that it's got. And I think then I carried on, you know, I did a release on Cadenza while I was doing the album, and some stuff on Kindisch and Get Physical. So I kind of was releasing singles at the same time, but I wanted to, I was always holding things back for the album, and then I gave it a final push at the end.